What made you realise that you needed to look at stewardship initially?
I became treasurer for St Bridget's in April of this year, and got to see and understand where the church's finances were. The church is fortunate in that it has some legacy money, but the regular income that was coming into the church, I knew that it wasn't enough to cover the annual costs, and it was quite significant. We were short about £15,000 every year, and it had been like that now for a couple of years.
What was the first thing that you did when you started thinking about stewardship?
I did what I always do, and that's begin with prayer, Sophie. And the first thing that came onto my heart was, actually, it's not to ask for more. It was to say thank you. And I needed to say thank you to all those people that have looked after this church for many, many years. What I found when I was trying
How did you go about thanking people?
I wrote individual letters to those that I knew were financially giving, not just myself as treasurer, but it was important that the clergy of this church were a part of this process, and they said thank you to the people as well. I hand-delivered many of those letters. We also said thank you to those that clean our church, that do prayers in our church, that prepare the graveyard and mow the lawn, the bell ringers. We brought the whole community together, and the way that we did that in that thank you was to have a celebration lunch, and it was just so great to see some of those back in for that lunch and back into our services, and also back into services in later weeks.
So you have an annual gift day that you've done regularly for a long time, but you did something differently this year. How did that work?
Where we'd always had a single gift day letter that was standard for everybody, the letter that I wrote to our congregation again was individually named, and ahead of giving those letters out, I did stand at the front of church and explain what was coming, because it was something different. Gave them sort codes and bank account numbers and some of the practical tools.
You didn't just write a letter to your congregation here, did you? You also wrote a letter to the wider community.
That's right. Within those letters, I wrote about what we actually do, so how we are actually serving our community. So we have baby clubs, we have a youth cafe, all these things. Church isn't just about a Sunday service. I just kind of used that information just to remind people of why they may want to sort of interact with the church. It isn't just about weddings, funerals and your baptisms sort of thing. It's very much about a living, breathing place with lots going on, and the need financially for the running costs of that to keep the church warm, to keep the lights on.
And what were some of the outcomes of looking at stewardship for your church, both the financial ones and the non-financial ones?
We had our biggest gift day in nearly 10 years, so the financial reward was there. And if you were to say that gift day was all about the money, then it was very successful. As treasurer, it seems a strange thing to say that it's not about the money. It's definitely about those relationships that were rebuilt and found, and those people that have returned to church in services since that gift day weekend that we had.
How did people respond to receiving the ask letter, and how did you feel afterwards?
I felt very relieved. And I don't know why we worry about asking people for money. It's a reality of life, isn't it? And people are a lot more understanding of why we need to ask than I thought it would be. More difficult. These are very small beginnings, and anybody who's embarking on this process shouldn't be afraid to start, because you need to start somewhere very small.
What do you think are the next steps for you as a church when it comes to stewardship?
I think we need to begin some teaching and to really understand what God's messages are for us about regular committed giving. And it's not just about our local community, but by giving on a regular basis in our own church, we can help flourish other churches, and I very much have Paul in mind, how one church can help another church.